Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about how long your answer to a PM interview question should be during the interview. To be honest, it really depends on the product manager that is interviewing you. It's different case by case. An interviewer might want to take the whole 45 minutes to do an interview with you and do one question and go really deep on the interview question. And another PM might decide that they want to spend 1 hour to test you on various subjects that they're asked you to test you on, such as metrics, product sense, and maybe even problem solving. Either way, I think it's a good idea for you to be ready for both scenarios. One thing that you can do at the beginning of the interview, after the question is asked, is to ask the interviewer how long they expect you to spend time on answering the question. This will give you an idea of how much time you have and allows you to actually plan ahead for each section of your answer so that you know you're not spending too much time or too little time on each particular part of the answer. Now, if the interview times is 30 minutes or longer, great, you can follow all the steps that I've suggested you to follow in my interview guides. However, if the interviewer is telling you to spend, let's say, not more than 15 minutes or just wants you to quickly cut through a few steps and get to the answer right away, you have to make sure that you take this information into consideration. In this case, what do? Do you skip a few steps and come up with an answer right away by guessing? Or do you still follow the steps that I've highlighted in my interview guide? My suggestion is that you actually follow the steps that I've provided, but do it quickly in your head. And this is going to allow you to make sure that you arrive at the right answer in the interview question that you've been asked. The only thing that should happen here is that you'll be doing those steps in your head quickly, but if you try to completely skip some of those steps, you'll most likely make a mistake. You still have to know, for example, how you're narrowing down the scope of the question. You need to know what user groups you're focusing on, what you're prioritizing, what you're not prioritizing. And if the interviewer is asking you to give a metric that, let's say, you think is important, instead of going through all the steps to come up with the metric, you should still think about the product, its state of maturity, the goal that you think you should focus on, and then suggest metrics that are relevant. You might not have the time to explain all the steps that you have to take, but once you give the metric, they will most likely ask you how you came up with it, and they will have a conversation with you by going through the steps that you went through in your head very quickly. So if you end up in a situation where the interviewer wants you to skip through a few steps, make sure that you do them in your head quickly, because that's the way that an experienced product manager deals with these kinds of questions on a daily basis in their job, like product improvement questions or metric questions or problem solving questions. But if you're wondering how long you're expected to spend on an answer, I think that realistically you'll be spending about 15 minutes on answering the question, and sometimes this might go longer, but 15 minutes is normal and expected. Just be ready to do some of the steps quickly in your head, and the way you become really good at doing that is by doing a lot of practices.